need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio. We are a growing team of people dedicated to ending prohibition all around the world. We are no longer just 1 hour a day, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Free app can be found in the Google iStore. And we got a free app that you can find, of course, on our homepage for Tumblr and SoundCloud. And we are on iHeart, so if you got an iHeart app, you can listen to us there. Big thank you to KDK Distributors for giving us a grant to keep us loud, proud, and strong. And don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the Big Joint broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and twist up a joint to take Time for Hemp. With that said, it is Monday, Healthy Mondays, and on Mondays we put a spotlight on what this wonderful plant known as cannabis sativa can do for our bodies, our mind, our souls, and our spirits. And we turn to professionals like Lynn, Mathre, and Al Byrne, who like to help patients out of time get their medication and have a good quality of life while they are still here. With that said, I'm going to pass this joint conversation to my joint host and enjoy this joint chat here at Time for Hemp. Al?
Yes, thanks, Casper. Very nice of you to invite us again on Happy Healthy Mondays. This is Al Byrne and Lynn Mathre, and we're here representing patients out of time. You can find our information, our basic information, in two places. You can go to www.patientsoutaftime.org, or you can go www.medicalcannabis.com. Either place will take you to an advertisement for the 9th National Clinical Conference on Cannabis Therapeutics. That will be held this May 21, 22, and 23, just a couple of months from now, 2015. It will be held in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it will be held at the Palm Beach County Convention Center. This will be the 9th conference, as I said, the 9th Clinical Conference on Cannabis Therapeutics. All of these conferences have been accredited. That means that doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals that attend these conferences will receive, if they pay a small fee, their continuing medical education units or credits, which they need to continue their license on an active fashion. Also, what will happen at this conference is that Patients Out of Time's own video team will video the entire conference, and we will edit it slightly and turn it over to a e-learning company in Charlottesville, Virginia, who will broadcast this learning education out across the internet and through the world. And your doctors and your nurses and your pharmacists, etc., can receive continuing medical education credits from this source as well, which is www.themedicalcannabisinstitute.org. themedicalcannabisinstitute.org. Courses there are short, hour or less. There is a small fee. They do receive accreditation, and they can do this, obviously, on the internet. They do it from their office, their home, or their cell phone. But the point is that the cannabis education accredited, that means it's authorized. It means it's right. It means it's correct. It means it's scientifically based. And it's all been under the authority of the American Medical Association and the American Nurses Association, regardless of what anybody else tells you. It's there, it's available, it's worldwide, and it's an enormous amount of information. Patients Out of Time holds in its own library over 100,000 pages of peer-reviewed cannabis science. So the notion that you hear from politicians, et cetera, that there is no science and we don't know enough about what we're doing is it's just a fallacy. It's just a farce. Now, I'm broadcasting to you from North Florida. Casper, of course, is out there in the rainy Northwest in Oregon, and Mary Lynn and Jody James, who is with Florida Can, is in South Florida. So, Mary Lynn, I'm going to let you and Jody get on here and say hello to the folks.
Thank you, Al. Yep, had to press that mute button. Get rid of that.
Yeah, okay.
We're okay. We're here in Melbourne, Florida, home base for Florida Cannabis Action Network with Jody James, and she's been with us before. But we thought conference is coming up, and Florida, the people tried. They got almost 58% of the vote for Amendment 2 last November, but the message is, went forward to the legislators. The people want cannabis available as medicine. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about some of the bills that are up there looking at it. But first, Jody, if you just want to let people know a little bit about Florida Can.
Well, thanks, Mary Lynn, Al, and Casper for having Florida Can highlighted on your show today. We appreciate the idea that this plant is entirely for the health and healing of mankind and our humanity, and not just us, but for our planet and for our pets. And so it's really an honor to be with you today. I guess the question that is going to be on most conference goers' minds come May is, will Florida be a medically legal state when you get here? We have 4 bills that we're looking at right now, and as Mary Lynn mentioned, lawmakers realize that when 58% says yes to something, like the medical marijuana initiative that was on the ballot in November, that they're, going to have to act. So we actually have a pretty decent medical marijuana bill that we're excited about. It looks a little different in the Senate than it does in the House, but we've been working with the Senate sponsor. That's a gentleman out of Tampa, who is really, he says he's been waiting his whole career to fix these marijuana policies, and he was just waiting for the people to, say that it was okay for him to do this. Now, this is a well-respected Republican.
All right.
He's a majority holder in the Senate. He's worked his way through other elected offices. So Senator Jeff Brandes is kind of a hero today. He's got SB 528. SB 528, though it doesn't allow me to grow my own plants, it has just about everything else in it that we could want. It allows for doctors to use their discretion when it comes to some symptoms. It outlines about 9 or 10 different disorders, and then it says, hey, but if you're suffering from these symptoms, that might be appropriate for you too. So we appreciate that. Right. So we're starting to talk about letting doctors be doctors. The House version is very much more. Yes.
Can I interrupt? I'd like to give the readers, the listeners here, a little bit of background. Folks, in Florida, I want you to understand, some people in Finland might not get this, but Florida tried to pass a constitutional amendment. Our country has a constitution. Our states do as well. And they are our basic laws. The people here tried to pass a law this past year that would have allowed medical cannabis to be used throughout the state of Florida. It failed, but it just barely failed. The numbers that they refer to was, what is it, Jody, 58 point something, wasn't it?
It was 57.8. In the state of Florida, in order for a constitutional amendment to pass, you have to have a 60% threshold.
There you go.
So even though a majority agrees, the initiative failed.
That's really high. So the initiative failed, folks. So I was up there in Tallahassee with Mary Lynn and Jody a while back, and I talked to one of the other senators his name is Jeff Clemens. He's also to be recognized as a real stand-up guy. My brief conversation with him, and just so you get the background here, what Jody and these other folks are working on now is a result of that wonderful vote of 58%, almost 58%. And the way Senator Clemens explained it to me, the wake-up call. He said the Senate and the House almost saw that the people made a law, and they can't stand that. They have to make the laws. So that's why the people, though, did force this issue. And you've heard us say on this radio show before, it's up to us as citizens to push this. And congratulations to the citizens of Florida, they did so. Now, with that interruption and background, please, Jody.
Well, no, I think that was perfect. And, understanding that there's multiple ways to change the law, and that as patients and advocates and medical professionals figuring out the best tactic to use at any one time. You know, my organization's worked the legislature for a very long time, primarily because we didn't have $14 million to go to the ballot. But luckily, I think our lawmakers are really going to make a difference. I'm excited about the opportunity to have your conference here, particularly in the wake of a 57.8 or whatever, almost 58% vote. Medical professionals are talking about it, even though our Florida Medical Association is still kind of dragging their feet. By having a conference like Patients Out of Time in Florida, it's going to give an entire generation of novices an opportunity to come in and literally stand on the backs of giants, which is what the people who will be speaking at Patients Out of Time is.
You know, and I want to note to people, Patients Out of Time, in coming to Florida, we feel really, good about that. It is our 20th anniversary. We've got a lot of roots here. Bob Randall, the first medical cannabis patient, deceased since 2001, but his widow, Alice O'Leary Randall, is still here. She'll be at the conference. Herb Rosenfeld and is based in Florida. Elvie Masica has been in Florida. She'll be back to Florida. She still gets her medicine from the federal government, receives it down in Florida. And we've got some great, Kathy Jordan, as they said, obviously for Florida, she's the picture of medical cannabis. And because of Florida Can and our relationship with them over the years, and know that they are very clearly geared to educating people all over Florida, the legislators, whoever, about the value of cannabis. And again, not only medical cannabis, but this plant is just good for everything, for the planet, etc. So they literally are going to be coordinating our conference for us down here, and we are really, really thrilled because we know we're in good hands. So anyway, thank you on that point, Jody. And what else we got with the laws going here?
Let's go through them, Jody. One, what do you mean? We've got is there a hemp bill?
Did you say, is there a handout?
Hemp. Is there a hemp bill?
Yes, as a matter of fact, just this past week was Hemp Week at the Florida Capitol. We brought in, not everyone realizes that there have been 4 homes built in America made out of hemp. The 4th one was actually made in Tarpon Springs, which is on the west coast of the peninsula of Florida. So the gentleman, our hemp house builder, is a engineer by the name of Bob Clayton. And Bob Clayton was retiring, and he wanted to build the most environmentally friendly home he could build. He is not a hempster. He's not a pod activist. He gets a little embarrassed being lumped in with us, I think, sometimes. But when he started doing his research about what he could do to build the most environmentally friendly home he could build, he stumbled upon a link on some obscure website for architects that talked about the benefit and the value of industrial hemp. He brought in over $65,000 worth of hemp. That's a tractor trailer load from England, and built Florida's first hemp house. He said it absorbed 8 tons of carbon monoxide last year in the drying process. And he joined us in Tallahassee to talk about HB 363 and Senate Bill 902. These are bills that would allow Florida to participate in the hemp industry, and it would also probably something that is more important. Right now, even hemp products are illegal in Florida. So, of course, Target carries them, and the health food stores carry them. However, any retailer that carries a hemp product in the state of Florida is opening themselves up for selective enforcement.
Wow, I didn't know that.
We actually had a pet store.
Hemp is a problem for recreational and medical cannabis, though, Jody. I mean, how is that issue being handled in Florida? Well, what I'm talking about, folks, is if you're trying to grow medical grade cannabis outdoors, and there's a hemp field a mile or 2 or 5 away, it's not going to happen. Your medical cannabis is going to turn into hemp. It's going to be seeded by the winds. So we have a definite problem with hemp farmers trying to grow in the same area as medical farmers, and that's sort of forcing, to my mind, that will force medical cannabis growers indoors with filter systems And my preference has always been, as a patient and listening to thousands of patients over the years, that medical cannabis is a better product if grown outside. So is this conflict even being discussed, or they have not discovered that down there yet?
Well, right now, the Department of Agriculture is still dragging its feet on any outdoor cultivation of cannabis in general. So because of what's going on at the federal level, the only thing we could possibly have for hemp right now is going to be test plots that are done, because of federal law. Test plots that'll be done through the university, land grant universities. But, I think what we're going to see in Florida is probably greenhouse growing for the medicinal. And while I respect what you're saying about outdoor, what my mentor, a wonderful woman by the name of Joan Bello, who wrote the book Benefits of Marijuana, what she always said is it needs sunshine. It needs sunshine. So Florida is going to be an ideal climate for us to be able to grow in greenhouses. Greenhouses are probably going to make more sense anyhow because you're going to be able to we have big concerns down here with humidity. So you're going to want to make sure that the temperature and the moisture in your greenhouses are really tight when you're trying to grow. Now, a patient growing a few plants in their backyard, I don't think that's going to interfere with my hemp production. And I think hemp's going to be so limited for the time being that if we can when we get to the point where patients can have a few plants of their own, I'll be happy to cross that bridge and deal with those problems then.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the time. We probably have to go for an ad pretty soon. Just want to make sure people do understand when we do talk about hemp, hemp cannabis, but hemp by definition has a very low THC content, and the growers tend to grow it more for its stalk and the seed. We're going after the fiber or the seed oil, and whereas the cannabis medical cannabis plant, we want the flower. Or more concerned about the flower part of the plant. But we'll come back in a little bit after a little commercial break here and a song.
And I do want to remind people that we are a 24-hour broadcasting network. And if you want to let the whole world know how important it is to take Time for Hemp, you just need to let people know to go to timeforhemp.com. We are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
See what's coming behind, looking like the road's real clear, so I drive at the pace I like. which is slow to most of you, but very fast to me, you see. I like to walk down the middle line all the time,
'cause that's where I find my peace of mind. Chugging along in the right time. I ain't never looking back. You got to wait, got to shake on the right track.
Sweet tea, I roll myself some homegrown. This is the way it should be. I'm not waiting on a phone call, lighting up the taste so sweet. Oil my machinery, my notebook I can graciously greet. Thank you to the magic greenery.
That's why I lose myself in my land. Some might say I'll be sticking my head in the sand, but I ain't never looking back. You got to wait, you got to shake on the right track.
Ideas. Evolution did not end with us growing thumbs. You do know that, right? It didn't end there.
You are listening to Time for Hemp on timeforhemp.com, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends. It is Monday, Healthy Mondays, and we put a spotlight on the amazing organization Patients at a Time, a place that if you are a caregiver involved in the medical field, you can show up to the website, learn some information that can actually be used to help give you accreditation towards your degree. Isn't that right, Mary Lynn and Al?
It is indeed, Casper. Yes. We can go online now to www.themedicalcannabisinstitute.org, and we can find online e-learning accredited education about the clinical use of cannabis, and most importantly, the functioning of the endocannabinoid system and its interaction, of course, with therapeutic cannabis values. Again, themedicalcannabisinstitute.org. And I'm Al Byrne, and I'm here with Mary Lynn Mathre, and we represent Patients at a Time, medicalcannabis.com. And we're here with Jody James. Jody is a longtime comrade of ours, decades or more, Florida resident, as are we all, who are most interested in the medical cannabis issue. And we were just talking, we have the ability to talk offline while the ads go on, and I just was talking with Jody and Mary Lynn about the medical cannabis bill, which is what we're going to return to. And my thought was, Jody, that rather than ask for less or settle for less of a medical cannabis bill, especially since the popular showing in the off-election time of, I think we should demand more, and I think you agree with that.
Absolutely. The opposition spent about $4 million to tell people everything that they thought could possibly be wrong with the medical marijuana initiative, and they came up with 3 winners. They said that based upon their reading of the initiative that people in Florida would be able to get marijuana for any disorder, that we'd have pot shops on every corner, and that 13-year-olds would be able to get marijuana without their parents' permission. And, almost 58% said yes, and some of them even said hell yes. So with 58%, that's what our organization feels. And quite frankly, Florida Cannabis Action Network is about the whole plant. That's part of the reason why we have initiated the Florida Hemp Initiative. That's the reason that we work on the medical marijuana issue. Our president is Kathy Jordan, the woman you mentioned earlier, who has been surviving, not just surviving, but thriving with a always fatal disease, Lou Gehrig's disease. Many people did the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS recently, and a fair few did it in the name of Miss Kathy Jordan. So, medical marijuana is certainly important to us because the people in our organization understand that for some patients it is the only thing between life and death. But we are also about the whole plant, making sure that no one else goes to jail for possessing, cultivating, or using cannabis, that we have access to it industrially and as a food product. So we're really proud of the work that my organization's done in the Florida legislature and with the populace, too. We're an educational organization, and we've been able, actually, I think we are going to have kind of the whole what if 3 is a trifecta, what's 4? We're going to be looking at the medical bill that we talked about a little bit. We're going to be looking at a hemp bill that we discussed a little bit. We've got 2 great guys, one in the House and one in the Senate, that are expected this week to introduce an adult recreational use bill. But I think the one that I'm probably the most excited about, we're waiting on a Senate sponsor, and it is a one-line bill. It's what they call a repealer bill. And so lawmakers get these repealer bills every few years, and all it does is it strikes cannabis from Schedule 1. Just takes it out. That's all it does. It's a 135-page bill, because once you take out cannabis, you have to renumber everything that comes after it. And, of course, the Controlled Substance Act has been growing and growing and growing since the 70s. And from the very beginning, the one thing that we can all agree on is cannabis simply does not belong there.
And folks, again, here, just so you know, Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act is the forbidden drug category. So that means it's supposed to mean it has no medical value, it is not safe for medical use, and it's highly addictive. Schedule 2, right under it, are your drugs like OxyContin, morphine, fentanyl,
cocaine,
and methamphetamine are Schedule 2 drugs. They can be prescribed. They might be highly addictive, but they are deemed safe enough for medical use and have medical value. So the placement of cannabis in this forbidden category out of 5 schedule is ludicrous.
And let's, again, for the people that are listening, is potentially, folks, 2.5 million of you listening to us right now, and a lot of you do not live in the United States. In the United States, just as I explained, we have a constitution of our country, and each state also has its own constitution. We have a schedule system, as Mary Lynn just described, at the federal level, which is duplicated, if not replicated, in all of our states and our territories. One of the advocates of medical cannabis for decades on the Board of Advisors of Patients at a Time is a fellow named Carl Olson. Carl works in Iowa, and he is as learned about this issue as there is. And he has been advocating for years to state legislatures. He's been saying, please listen to me. It will help everything if you guys would introduce legislation to remove cannabis from the state schedules from 1, where it doesn't belong, to nowhere. Really, it doesn't need to be scheduled. But at least get it out of 1. So congratulations to Carl Olson, who is a host on the Time for Hemp. And Judy, who is this senator again? I want to know his name. He's a good guy.
Well, we've got a couple senators vying for the right to put it in, but really it's a she. Tallahassee Representative Michelle Ray Winkle-Vasalinda that we need to have our hats off to. I spent my first week in Tallahassee in January going back and forth between her office and several of the Senate offices because we had so many people vying to be the first named sponsor on these bills. So we went from where I couldn't get someone to even take an appointment with me 4 years ago to the point where everybody wants their name on a bill. So we really have some great support Representative Michelle Ray Winkle Vasalinda in Tallahassee.
It's quite a name.
Yeah, it is, and do that one fast. Representative Katie Edwards down in South Florida, the Plantation area. We cannot forget Randolph Bracey. Randolph Bracey is a black man from the Orlando area, and his dad is a huge proponent in the black community, one of the largest black churches in the area, and he is going to be the sponsor of our adult recreation and legalization bill. So, you just can't beat the lineup. It's been fun. I actually have had legislative aides pulling me aside saying, Jody, my representative was going to put his name on that bill, but you know how politics are. They wanted somebody else's name on it, but we're behind you. So I love getting pulled aside in the hall.
Well, look, how do they get a hold of Florida Can?
Florida Cannabis Action Network is actually a statewide organization. We're at flcan.org. When you dial into flcan.org, you're going to be on our homepage, and from there you can find out more about our hemp project. You can jump off into our legislative project, Let Florida Decide. We're working on some adult recreational use, and we have some activism training in there. You can learn the history of Kathy Jordan. You can see some great videos of Lynn Mathre, my partner in crime today here in the Melbourne office. And I think we've experienced or a novice for you to step in, go from a passive supporter to an active ambassador for this incredible plant.
Okay, my turn. We got to talk about veterans in the state of Florida.
Yes.
Yes. I am a veteran. Mary Lynn is a veteran. We're both Navy veterans. Mary Lynn did about 6 years. I did about 24. I'm retired. Yes, I get a paycheck from the military. I deserve it. But I also have co-founded, along with Mary Lynn and Mike Kravitz, an organization called Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. And that organization, mainly Mike, Mike was responsible for talking to the VA over a period of years and convincing them that cannabis is a medicine and they should say so. And in July of 2010, the VHA issued a directive that said cannabis is a medicine. Vets that use it shall be treated appropriately as patients. And there are doctors in the VA and there are other healthcare professionals in the VA shall incorporate that cannabis medicine into their own treatment plans and do so willingly and right now. The problem was that left me out and it left Mike out. Because even though we did all the work and the directive got passed, we live in Virginia, it did then. And Virginia is backward and ignorant about this issue as Florida. In that if I, as a cannabis patient, freely admitted for years, I use it for pain, I use it for post-traumatic stress, and it helps me out immeasurably, ask my friends. If I go to the VA hospital and say that to them in Virginia, they'll call security and say, you got to go. You got to get off the grounds. Now, if I go to a VA hospital and say that in Maine, they say, what can we do for you? And thank you for your service. So what I'm saying is to you folks that Florida holds the third most military veterans in the United States, some 850,000. Most of them, my numbers indicate, saw combat, almost 750,000 of them. Most of them are also hurt. They're either hurt physically or emotionally. And they can't go to a VA hospital and get treatment in the state of Florida if they use cannabis like I do, because the legislatures, the senator, the representatives, and this governor of ours, who, I can't imagine this man, this governor, an Army veteran. He knows what I'm talking about right now. And he's passing. I'm Pontius Pilate. This is awful. You got to get out there, folks, and call up these men and women who are braving the storm right now and bringing these bills forward. And you got to send some money to Florida Can to help them get on with this. And you've got to change this issue, if for no other reason that knows 850,000 veterans that live next to you. Now, we're going to take a break. Got to do this, but I want to tell you as a break, you just think about this. Kathy Jordan's husband is Bob Jordan, a friend of mine, non-vet, infantryman, suffers. He called one time a while back, and he said, Al, I don't get it here. I said, what's the matter, Bob? He says, when I signed up to go to Vietnam, I signed up to fight for my country, and I did. So how come now I live in Florida and my country doesn't fight for me? You think about that.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Stay alert with consciousness. Be responsible when you use medical marijuana or any type of medical prescribed, I want to say drug, but marijuana, cannabis is not really a drug. It's an herb. Big difference. Nonetheless, when taking your medications, make certain that you do so responsibly. With that said, we're going back to our joint conversation with our joint friends here in this joint chat at Time for Hemp. Al?
Thanks, Casper. And folks, we're back again, and we're going to return immediately to Jody James here because the show runs out in a little bit, but we want to make sure that we've got Florida covered. But while we're still on the vet issue, there was a recent study that Mary Lynn and I have seen. I can't quote it right at the moment, but it indicated that very clearly that veteran suicides, which are labeled by the VA at 22 a day, and I think that's a gross misunderstatement. The veteran suicides apparently are more, or I don't know about more, but a huge percentage of them are created by the pharmaceuticals they're given for post-traumatic stress and other injuries. And here we are saying for years, you know, if you could try cannabis first instead of last, it might be a wiser decision. And you know, that was just anecdotal stuff that a couple of 10,000 people told us. And now we have a double-blind study that's the only thing that matters. Our word is nothing. And it says the same thing. So I really wonder whether we're going to see any reaction there, Mary Lynn. What do you think?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was pretty much a review study. And as you said, it's not our numbers. The VA says 22 suicides a day, and they also say it's an underestimate. We're just not missing a lot of the, unfortunately, many veterans, Vietnam-era veterans, et cetera, and current vets had been kicked out of the out of the system coming back and being labeled with antisocial or personality disorders or something. And a lot of that is just because of the horrors they've seen, and they come back with post-traumatic stress and were, kicked out inappropriately. Those people aren't counted. But yeah, Al and I, over the years, working with veterans, counseling veterans, especially Vietnam veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress, they've told us over and over how cannabis helps. We know that. Al certainly knows it from his own personal experience. So we know the medications help. But that study was surprising to say that a lot of the veterans that are committing suicide are not combat veterans. They aren't necessarily coming back with post-traumatic stress, but they might have been suffering from depression or other problems, and it's the pharmaceutical drugs when given to them. And a lot of times it's not just a pharmaceutical drug. You get one pharmaceutical drug. Say you get something for pain, well, then you need something else to take care of the side effects of that medication. Or one of the psychiatric medications will cause another problem. And the interaction between them all, these soldiers, and the side effects are on the label, may cause suicidal or homicidal ideation. So cannabis is known to put that, your mind as well as your body back in balance. And these veterans, when they try it, they will say, this is the first time I've slept in months. Or they'll say, I feel normal again. So you can't, the idea of arguing with someone and seeing that drastic change in them is a bit much. And that goes back to Patients Out of Time. We are so much for research. We celebrate research. We want more research. But the point is, this is a safe drug. It's an ancient drug. You don't need more research to say that a person can or cannot use it. Anyone should be able to use this plant. And Jody, how's that conversation been going in the legislatures with the veterans?
Wow, I got some bad information a couple weeks ago. We were working on these bills and trying to get them filed. And I had gotten some information that the chair of the Veterans Committee in the House was having a meeting with our prime sponsor. And so we got all excited because while post-traumatic stress is not listed now in the first draft of our bill, we've had conversations with the Senate sponsor. If we can't get PTSD in it, we're going to make sure that we get symptoms in it so that if you have several symptoms, you could be diagnosed. Even if it doesn't say PTSD, we can still use it. So I go to the Veterans Committee Chair, Jimmy Smith, and I am excited. I think I have an ally. And this guy looked at me
because he's a veteran.
He was meeting with my sponsor, and he's a veteran, and he has got the word out that he's all about vets all the time. And I'm thinking, what could be more patriotic than giving these guys and gals an opportunity to have the best possible choice first? So I start in thinking he's an ally, and don't you know, he said to me, you marijuana people, you're all worried about the leaf and the stalk and the stem. What you should be looking at is the chemicals behind it. And we give our veterans way too many drugs for post-traumatic stress. We should not be giving them drugs. We should be giving them dogs, service dogs, because you don't need chemicals. And he said, and besides, we make aspirin out of a bark of a tree, and, we don't go around, I don't remember what tree, but we don't go around, and we pointed that out, but we don't go around, chewing bark anymore. And I said to Representative Jimmy Smith, I said, so would you ban the tree? And he said yes. So I'm not sure we have an ally in the Veterans Committee. If you've got some friends in Florida who are veterans, I certainly hope that they will reach out to Florida Can and get involved. Over the coming weeks, we're going to be in Tallahassee. Actually, we're going to be in Tallahassee from the beginning of March until the end of April working on these bills. On March 10th, we have a invitation-only legislative training. If you are a listener and you are in or around the Florida area, or if you think you've got something to add and can be in Florida on March 10th, while I'm calling it invitation only, what that means is we want the highest caliber people we can find. So if you are that person, call and tell me you're invited. You can reach us here at flcan.org. That's flcan.org, and anybody here can help you. We would be happy to bring some more folks into the fold. And if you're interested in doing some lobbying and learning some training and how to do those skills and talk with lawmakers about these bills, it's going to be an excellent opportunity for folks in North Florida or from around the states.
Yeah, and while you're talking to your legislators, folks, please keep this in mind. yes, we need to believe that they do want to do the best for us as citizens. Let's just go in there with that kind of attitude and then understand this. They don't know a damn thing about medical cannabis. They don't know a damn thing about medicine or nursing. They're lawyers. They're ex-cops. They don't know. So you go in there knowing about medical cannabis. Do your homework. Do it well. You learn about the endocannabinoid system. Learn about it. Know it cold. And go in there with an idea of education. Sir, madam, I understand you want to get interested in taking care of us in medical cannabis. Here's what you don't know. Please listen to me. They are cops and they are lawyers. They do not know medicine. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're talking to the media. Mention to the media, well, you know, the senator's a good guy, like this Jimmy Smith. He's a good guy, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's one of these people that I say just demonstrates their ignorance in public and seems to be cool with that. I'll also tell you, as a long-term veteran advocate, that 1 out of every 5 people in the United States that say they're a veteran are not. And I'd ask Smith for his DD-214.
Right. No, you're right. We had an issue with that. A former state senator absolutely lied about his years of service in Vietnam. He absolutely lied about it.
Yeah, well, the guy like Smith that brags the brag is not what I know about veterans.
Well, and he's certainly not doing Florida veterans any service without, you know, when we get to the point where we understand and where we let doctors be doctors, and then really when it comes to medical marijuana, that's the final decision for me. We got to let doctors be doctors. We've got to get out of the way. Florida Can advocates for full legalization of marijuana, cannabis. We typically call it cannabis all the time. And, you know, we tell people that there's 5 reasons, and we can go down this all the time. You know, when you legalize marijuana, and I'm talking about for anybody and for everybody, when you legalize it, that is when you're truly going to improve the lives of people. You're going to stop arresting patients. You're going to make sure that people have access. When we stop we'll improve lives because we'll improve the amount of information we have, which is opening the doors to therapeutic research. When we legalize marijuana, we'll save money.
The money is incredible.
That's next. Well, and it's 2 ways. You're going to save money, which taxpayers need to save money, but we're also going to make money because we're going to turn a current economic engine into the sunshine. So, yeah, it's absolutely necessary. But, you know, every medical marijuana program in the country is too doggone limited. It takes it out of my hands. And it is so selective in who gets to use it that we're really we're still nowhere near understanding the full benefit of this plant. So I'm going to keep working until somebody gets it.
Hold on, how many years did you spend from first grade to when you finished your education basically interested in science? How long did you spend?
Interested in science?
Yeah, I mean, you went. What I'm trying to tell the people is you went all the way through college, then you got a master's degree. That was a couple of years. Then you've been studying this stuff for years and years and years, right? And my point is to the folks out there, Mary Lynn is one of a few, but really there are thousands of people in the world that have done this kind of research, and they've all come up with the same answer, that this is a plant, you know, it grows out of the ground. I mean, it's just like that willow tree, and it can be used in a most beneficial way in a lot of different ways. And I'd like to keep everybody out there in mind. Again, it's a world out there. There are 26 countries now, that use cannabis medically. Even some backward places like Canada and Spain. So it's pathetic that some senator in South Florida doesn't know what's going on. I mean, damn, you know, I guess you don't really have to if you're a senator from South Florida. But if you're going to represent me, I'm going to make you. And we've just all had it, I think, folks like Jody and Marilyn and the folks we work with. It's gotten to the point where it used to be we could say this is just stupid, and now we're just saying this is criminal. To not be informed now is a kind of like beyond.
Well, I think you nailed it, though. And if you think about in terms of what these lawmakers go to, I have the 16th largest economy in the world. We have what's considered a citizen legislature. So while there certainly are lawyers on my legislature, Representative Jimmy Smith, he's a 20-year veteran with a GED. Now, you may have school teachers. You have somebody who is a real estate agent. And all 160 of these folks come to this with something that they wanted to get done. Now, if I'm a teacher and I'm going to the legislature to fix the education system, education's what I know. And they stick me up there, and then they stick me on 2 education committees and 4 committees that I know nothing about. And for the first 3 months, I can't even find my parking place. And yet they expect in less than 5 months from the time I'm elected that I'm going to pass the 16th largest budget in the world and comprehend the 2,000 issues that are put before me by citizens and lobbyists. And, I want to rant about lobbyists for a minute. 4 years ago, I couldn't get a lobbyist to even take my phone calls. And now we have about 5 different organizations in Florida that are hiring lobbyists. These guys are making $10,000 a month for cannabis issues. They're making $10,000 a month. And I was looking online the other day. One police department in Florida paid a lobbyist $340,000 last year.
And get that. That's a police. I mean, they always use that line of, hey, we don't make the laws. We just, we carry them out. That's,
But they're spending $340,000 to influence lawmakers out of my money.
Floridians should be very angry.
Very angry.
That was paid for by Floridians because they were forfeited. The people had their property taken from them by the friendly cops, the cars, houses, children. That's where
that doesn't go in that budget. That's a different budget, Al.
I don't know. When you take my kids and you sell them off to a foster home, that's what it used to be, slavery.
Yeah, and we had usury laws to keep those kind of things from happening. Absolutely. No, Floridians, I hope that we are to a boiling point. No, I know we're to a boiling point in Florida. I hope the rest of the world is doing their part to agitate the same way you are. If lawmakers don't think this is an important issue, it's because they have not heard from you often enough. And as individuals, it is each and every one of our obligations to do that. I'm not somebody special. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's. What I have is the responsibility to make my community better. And every day for the last 20 years, I've done that. And because I've worked hard for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to make my community better, I have been promoted to the point where I now run a statewide organization. Is it a great job? Do I make lots of money? No. But I have the opportunity to make the world a better place. And that's what I started out to do. Make the decision to not be satisfied with the status quo.
Well said. I'm looking at the clock here, and we could continue for the rest of the afternoon.
You're right. We are down to like the last 2 minutes of the broadcast. So this gives everybody a chance to give a shout out to URLs, organizations, and events upcoming in the far future.
Jody.
Thank you very much. Florida Cannabis Action Network welcomes all of your interest at www.flcan, and my team looks forward to welcoming people from around the world to West Palm Beach, May 21st through the 23rd, to host as we help co-host and facilitate the Patients Out of Time conference.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today. You're very informative, as always, and right up to the minute kind of stuff, and that's terrific. We'll see you soon. And then I want to take a moment here to introduce people to an organization that I run. It's a company. It's called Veterans for Compassionate Care. You can find veteransforcompassionatecare.org. I want you to look at it. This is an organization, a company that would use cannabis as an exit drug from pharmaceuticals. The same conversation we had earlier in the show. Please take a look at that. veteransforcompassionatecare.org. And Marilyn, before I close it out, you want to tell them quickly about the ACNA?
Oh, yeah. For any nurses out there, anyone who knows a nurse, please let them know that there's the American Cannabis Nurses Association. And And you can find that at cannabisnurse.org. The American Cannabis Nurses will be having a pre-conference workshop on Thursday, May 21st, prior to the Patients Out of Time conference, basically the core curriculum for cannabis nursing, and an advanced course for nurses who've already taken that course and are, literally working with patients and want to know more. The Society for Cannabis Clinicians will also be having a course. We're going to have a pre-conference workshop for lawyers as well, lawyers who work with medical cannabis issues. So we look forward to a great event. We hope any and all of you can come join us May 21 to 23, and it's on that website, patientsoutaftime.org or medicalcannabis.com.
There you go. Yeah, those are the two addresses. You can find out everything. You can see the CME courses. There's links over to everything. I will remind you all that these programs are archived by Casper, and go back in these archives, look up hosts, Mary Lynn and Al, and there's fascinating conversations. Jody was a politically orientated really today, but most of them are very much health orientated. The experts of the world have been interviewed on this show. It's enlightening. Just trust me. Try a few of them. Until next week, this is Al Byrne for Patients Out of Time. Take care.
And I want to remind people that we are a global broadcasting network, a team of people dedicated to ending prohibition, these insane policies that are causing medical marijuana patients to be called criminals by their communities and locked up, and all they really need is to be healthy. That's all they're trying to accomplish, and we need to put an end to that. We ask that you share us with your friends, and remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah!
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.